5 hours later, I'm presenting Disintegration.
The title of this painting is The Hallucinogenic Toreador, and this was painted in 1969 and through 1970, and Dolly was about 65 years old when he painted this. Dolly was going through an art place one day, and he was trying to get supplies for his paintings, and he saw this pencil case, and on the pencil case was a picture of Venus de Milo, and he loved the Venus de Milo and how it looks, so he paints it all throughout this painting, about 31 times to be exact.
Now I'm going to show you the Toreador. If you look at the middle of the painting, you can see a button. On either side is his collar. The green part of this Venus's skirt becomes his tie, with his shirt on either side. The red skirt of this Venus becomes the red cape that a Toreador would use during a bullfight. Right above the button, you can see his chin, his mouth. Her left breast becomes his nose. His eye is formed by the bottom part of her head and the white space between her neck and her shoulder. His other eye is formed by the shadow of this Venus's arm. His hat is the red part with the dots in the arena. If you look, if you squint your eyes, you can see he's sort of looking over your right shoulder and with his head tilted. Can everyone see it?
Okay, if you look in the corner up here, you can see a female, and that would be Dolly's wife, Gala. And Gala wasn't a big fan of bullfighting, so she's shown kind of like sad. And if you look at this Venus's face right here, you're able to kind of see the outline of a 5. Can everybody see that? The 5 stands for what time the average bullfight would start, which is 5 o'clock. And if you look at Gala, if you look back up at Gala, you can kind of see her looking towards the corner of this painting, and she would be looking at a younger Dolly.
He's wearing his favorite sailor suit. Now the thing about Dolly is he hated tourists, and there was a Club Med that was erected near his hometown. If you look over here, you can see a bull, his horns, his eye is a gadfly, and his nose is in this pool, which is supposed to be a pool of blood, but it turns into a bay with a lady on a yellow raft. That's the tourist. Dolly is making a reference to a story you heard in the previous painting about Saint Narciso driving the French out of Spain. And just as Saint Narciso drove the French out of Spain, Dolly is directing these gadflies to drive tourists off what he called his beach.
If you look in the bottom middle of this painting, you can kind of see like a figure trying to be formed, and it's a Dalmatian, and its head is right here trying to drink some of the water in the bay. And this comes from a Lifetime, an image in the Life magazine that stated that even if the whole image isn't like pointed out, you're still able to kind of get the idea of what it is. And right here in this corner is a chair, and this comes from a Spanish artist, and it's called Still Life in a Chair, and he gives kind of like recognition to this guy by putting it in his painting.
Up here you can see a couple circles. There's a few Venus heads, and one of these is the disappearing bust of Voltaire. It's also a double image, just like the Toreador is, and you can see it in a painting on the wall over here. There are also roses floating around over here, and those are to represent the femininity of the Venus de Milo, and also people would throw roses into the bull ring after the bullfight.
Are there any questions? Well, thank you for listening to us.
Hello, my name is Justin. I like Dolly because of his styles of paintings. And hello, my name is Sarek, and I also like Dolly. Today we'll be talking about the painting Geopolitical Child, Watching the Birth of the New Man. It was painted in 1943, and Dolly was 39 years old when he painted it. Today I'll be talking about the man inside the egg itself, and the 2 people pointing at the egg. And what I will be talking about is the umbrella-like figure above the egg, that landscape in the background, and those 2 small people in the red and blue. First of all, I would like to talk about the man inside the egg. This man represents Salvador Dali. He sometimes liked to put himself in paintings. As you can see, Dolly looks like he's coming out of North America, which is the New World, and crushing Europe. This shows that Europe is decreasing in power because of World War II, while America is gaining power. He made himself come out of America to represent him moving from Europe, from the war, to America to be brought into a new world. Now I'd like to talk about the egg features. As you can see, the egg looks sort of like Earth. If you look closely, you'll see that Africa looks like it's shedding a tear. This means that how all the other countries and continents all cared for no more war and no more fighting. As you can see, there's like a red blob coming out of the egg. This represents blood. And what they mean by this is that all the bloodshed and disappointment in war. Now I'd like to talk about these two people. These two people represent an old man, woman, and a baby. This represents a person called an androgynous person. This figure is sort of mixed with manly parts and female parts. As you can see, it has the hair of a woman and face features of a woman, but the rest of the body seems man-like, with the veins sticking out of their arms, legs, and feet and hands, and the chest is sort of manly. If you look down here, you'll see a tiny baby. This represents a Geopolitical Child, watching the birth of the new man, which is Dolly himself. If you look closely here, you'll see that the shadows are inversed. This means that order will come to the end of World War II 2 years later. And the first thing I would like to talk about, as you can see, the large umbrella-like figure above the egg, which is supposed to be the placenta, which is something inside the mother's belly that protects the fetus. And that background back there and the tower is supposed to be like a landscape of Dolly's hometown, Catechas. And the last thing I would like to talk to you about is the two tiny figures wearing red and blue, which are from one of the artist Raphael's paintings called The Marriage of the Virgins. Dolly put those two figures in there because he liked Raphael. Now, that is the end of our painting, and if you have any questions, please ask us.
Hi, my name is Francis, and I'm 9 years old, and I have been in the Junior Docent Program 3 years, and I'm about to do it again in a few weeks. This is the Disintegration of the Persistence of Memory. It was painted in 1952. I couldn't talk about this painting without mentioning the first version, an earlier version of this painting. It is probably the most recognized painting Dolly has ever painted. If you look in the middle of both of them, there is a portrait of Dolly right here. He got the idea for a rock in Spain, and right here are the eyelashes and there's the nose. There are also more rocks from Spain in the background, which are found in many of his paintings. One of the most recognizable symbols that Dolly has painted is the melting clock. The story behind it is that Gala and some of her friends or something had gone out to do something, and Dolly was at the house, and he watched melting Camembert cheese, and he saw in that a clock that's melting. Another symbol of it is that time is not apparent in dreams. Like if you're dreaming, you can't tell if it's 20 seconds or 2 hours. Also, the reason that the landscape is disintegrating is Dolly was fascinated with atoms and molecules. So he used the atomic bomb as a symbol in this painting. He painted it a few years after the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which ended World War II. So he uses the atomic bomb as a symbol for the disintegration. It's also over here disintegrating into rhino horns, which are used in a few of Dolly's paintings, and Dolly liked them because they are a perfect spiral if you go into them, and Dolly really likes spirals. Also right here is a fish, which is not in this painting. It might be because that this could be underwater because it's sort of like a flooded landscape. Also, right here on the first painting is a stopwatch with ants on it, and there are no ants on this painting. And I think there are no ants maybe because the atomic bomb and the radiation had wiped out all life, except there's a fish, which might not make sense. So, in this apocalyptic landscape, there's also a flood, but when the flood water goes down, it could mean that it's like starting a new hope for the world. Even though the atomic bomb had hurt the world, it can still be revived. Any questions?
Hello, my name is Ella, and this is my third time being a junior docent. The painting that I'm going to tell you about is Old Age, Adolescence, and Infancy, the 3 ages. It was painted in 1940. Right here, we have infancy, which is supposed to be a baby. And right here is the head of the baby, which is made out of the woman's head. And next to it is the shadow from that rock that makes the baby's other eye. And with her shawl, it makes the upper lip and part of under the nose, and her skirt makes the lower lip, and the fishing net that she's making, it is the shoulders and part of the upper chest. This is a bust of a baby. A bust is a sculpture of the head, and part of the upper chest and shoulders. And right here we have a figure of a head, and it has the nose right here. The mouth is kind of open, and right here we have ears, which is a little hole. And right here we have the eyes, but there are no eyes, so it's just a hole. And right here is adolescence. And if you can see it in the eyes, there's a little town with a full moon. And right here, it is Dolly's nursemaid Lucia, and that's Dolly. Her nose makes up, her hat makes up the nose. Her shawl makes up the part of the upper lip, and her shirt makes the lower lip. This is Dolly. When Dolly was young, he liked to wear a sailor suit, which he is right here. Right here is old age. There's a woman bent down like this. Her head, which she is wearing a scarf around, is the eye, and its head is turned like this, so you only see one eye. And her arm that is bent like this is the nose, and her apron is the beard, and her basket is the upper lip and lower lip, and the keys hanging from the basket are unlocking mysteries. Because Dali's painting was the answer to the riddle of the Sphinx. The riddle of the Sphinx was who walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening. And the answer is man, because when you're a baby, you crawl on 4 legs. When you're a little bit older than a baby, you walk on 2 legs. And when you're older, you walk on 3 legs. The 3rd leg is a cane. And right here we have walnuts, and we have old age, adolescence, and infancy. Because this one, it just has started to develop. This one, it's developed more and is ripe to eat. But this one is rotten, which is old age. Do we have any questions?
Hello, I am Deanna. I am 12 years old and I've been learning the Salvador Dali's Junior Docent Program for many years. This painting is called Daddy Longlegs of the Evening Hope. Right here, the reason why it's called Daddy Longlegs is because there is a Daddy Longlegs in the center of the painting. It's an old French saying that if you see a Daddy Longlegs in the evening, you have great hope, like the title. But if you see one in the afternoon, you have great sorrow. Right here, the cannon is being held up by a crutch, and that was one of Dali's many symbols, but a crutch represents support, and it is supporting the cannon. The cannon is shooting out two things, a plane and a horse. The horse is decaying because we no longer use horses in war for transportation. That is why it is decaying. And this painting, the whole theme is about World War II. The plane is here is because that is what we now use for transportation for wars and stuff. The reason it's melting is because that was one of Dali's favorite foods, not a plane, but cheese. He liked the cheese melted, and you see a lot of things melting in many of his other paintings. Name the figure. Right here, there is an angel covering its eyes from the destruction from World War II, because they're only meant to see happiness and love, that kind of stuff. Right here, you'll see a figure, a very long, distorted figure holding a melting cello. It's melting too. The reason why it's melting and hanging upon a tree is because that Dali made that represent all the good things in life running away. You see two ink balls above the chest. That represents the signing of the two peace treaties. Right here, you go down the longest one and you see a face. Can you all see it? Good. You'll see ants crawling across his face because that is another one of Dali's many symbols. That represents all the decaying, and it is making the figure go away quicker. That is all I have to say. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
My name is Zoe, and the painting I will be showing you today is View of Catechist with Shadow of Mount Painting, painted in 1917, and Dali was only 13 years old. This painting was painted on burlap, which is what the sailors put on their boats to keep them moist and keep them from drying out, and it was available to Dali, so he used it. And plus, he liked using different textures, so he used that. And what he used was something called Impressionist style to paint this, and he used little tiny dabs and no hard lines and left as much light as possible. And right over here near the tall pine is where Dali's house was. And this is actually an exact map of Catechist. We know that because some people went up in an airplane and had his painting up there, and the painting and the actual view matched. Any questions? Okay,
Alright, my name is McKenna, and my painting that I will present to you today is called Catechist. It was painted in 1923. Dali was born in 1904, so he was 19 years old when he painted this. It is painted in the post-impressionist style, which is a cubist and style, kind of with loose brush strokes. He uses a lot of geometric shapes, such as the triangles in the mountains and the squares and rectangles in the buildings. And you can also notice the women in the bottom of the painting. There are actually 8 of them. You might count 7, but there's actually a hidden one right here. And they are all painted, they're all modeled off of Dali's sister, Anna Maria, because he had not met his future wife yet. You'll learn more about her in some of the other paintings. But, so he was using his sister at this point in his life. This was one of his earlier works. and so he was still trying to find his inner style, the style that he liked best. So he was using different styles, and this surprised me more than some of his surreal works did, because you look at all the surreal works, you look at the really famous ones in magazines and museums and all that stuff, and you come and look at this one and you go, did he paint that? Did he really paint that? Is that Dolly? And he's starting to get a little playful here with the dog. The dog is, if you stand back a ways, it looks as if the dog's head is chopped off, but if you come up closer and study it, you'll see that the dog is turned around, maybe chasing his tail or biting a flea. The thing that I found most interesting about this painting was the wind. Where the women are, you see that there's no wind because their hair is hanging straight down their backs and their dresses aren't ruffled or anything. And so, but when you look at these trees, especially this one here, this tree seems to be leaning slightly to the right. But when you look at this holiday balloon up here, it looks to be leaning slightly to the left. So I thought maybe Dali's starting to experiment a little bit with surrealism, even in a post-impressionist painting. Thank you for listening to my presentation about Catechus.
Hello and welcome to the Dali Museum. My name is Zachary Thomas, and I think that Dali is surreal and unique. Dali painted this painting in 1963, and he was 59 when he painted it. I'll be presenting Portrait of My Dead Brother. There are six things that I want to be talking about. The bird up in the boy's hair, the molecules above the boy's nose, the cherries above and under the boy's nose, the soldiers in the right bottom corner, the drops of blood, and the people to the left. Dali always felt that him and his parents were very close together, but he felt like him and his mom were close. They're almost like best friends. But at the time, him and his dad weren't really getting along so well, and it was just bad to watch. So in Egyptian, vulture means mother, so he put a vulture in the boy's hair. The second thing I want to show you is the molecules above the boy's nose. Dali always loved school and especially science, so he put molecules above the boy's nose. The second thing I want to show you is the cherries above and under the boy's nose. Dali felt that his brother and him had similarities and differences, even though they never met face to face. So he put cherries above and under the boy's nose. Fourth thing I want to show you is the soldiers in the right bottom corner. Dali always thought about his dead brother, and he couldn't get this thought out of his head. So he thought about soldiers to he thought that was kill and erase the thought. But he never liked the thought of his dead brother or the soldiers, so he thought if he painted them, then it'll just erase the thought right out of his mind. The fifth thing I'll be talking about is the drops of blood. These aren't actually drops of blood, they're cherries. And like I said before, Dali thought that him and his brother had their similarities and their differences. So he painted cherries. The bright cherries are for Dali because he's very much alive and healthy. The dark cherries are for his dead brother because he wasn't alive when he painted this painting. The sixth thing I'll be talking about is the people to the left. A lot of other painters inspired Dali, and this is a similar piece that he loved in high school, and he just was his favorite one, his favorite painting in high school. And to him, it looked like a mom and dad praying over their dead child. So he took it and he kind of remade it, and he put it like this, and he has a mom and dad, and they're praying over their dead child, and they're about to bury it. Are there any questions? No, thank you for coming.
Sunny. I am a junior docent. This is my second time doing the tour. Dali painted this painting in 1976 when he was 72 years old.
The title of this painting is Gala Contemplating the Mediterranean Sea, at which 20 meters becomes a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Dolly got the inspiration from this painting from the Scientific American magazine. He saw the image of Lincoln and he pixelated it, and the image was from the $5 bill. And now I'm going to see the best way to see the Lincoln is right there. You look back first. If you have sunglasses or a mirror, you will
this way. Go this way.
That's a little trick we learned about, right, Destiny? Cool. And a mirror, too. You can do the same thing with a mirror or sunglasses. So if you take your sunglasses and turn it, you can see it in the reflection. That is really cool.
Oh, that's neat.
and then it becomes a portrait. It comes to be a portrait.
That's cool.
Thank you, Destiny, for showing us that. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Did you figure out the trick with the sunglasses?
You can use sunglasses and a mirror, or if you don't have either of those things, you can go right across and face this way and squint your eyes, and then you'll see it, but it'll still be a pixelated image of Abraham. Now I'm going to talk about the image of Christ at the top of the painting, which is Jesus on the cross. He's looking down from a bird's eye view, so that's why you really can't see the cross. To Gala's point of view, it's supposed to be the sun, but to us it's supposed to be the bullet in Abraham Lincoln's head when he's assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. Now I'm going to talk about the lady in the center, which is Dolly's wife. Her name is Gala. She was 82 years old. 82, because she was 10 years older than Dolly. And she looks very young for that age when he painted her in this painting, but actually he hired a model to pose for her. It took Dolly a long time to paint it, so the model had to pose for a while, and now she has to walk on a cane because she can't, because she stood up for a long time. And the reason her head looks square is because Gala always wears the bows that she got from a famous dress designer. So she will always wear them a lot. And now I'm going to talk about the tiles, which comes up to make the image of Abraham Lincoln, which is the outside. And he got that idea from Martha Roscoe. Now, Dolly honors the USA, because he used one of the American presidents and because he called it his second home because it was originally from Spain. That is the end of the presentation. If you had any questions, you can ask them.
Hi, my name is Rachel, and the title of my painting is Average Bureaucrat, painted in 1930 when Dolly was 26 years old. What I like about Dolly is that he's creative and funny, and he's not afraid to put any of his emotions or feelings into his paintings. Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys about 4 things. The man in front, the little people back here, the rocks, and the shadow. Okay, let me start out with the man. This is Dolly's father. He was a bureaucrat, and surrealists don't really like bureaucrats. Also, he was a special type of bureaucrat. He was a notary, like an attorney in Spain. So, since surrealists don't like bureaucrats, Dolly painted him like this. He has shells in his brain, that means he doesn't think. He has no ears, which means he doesn't listen. And he's looking down. So, when you're talking to someone and they're looking down, are they really paying attention to you? And he has no clothes. So does he really know what's going on? I bet not. Okay, the little people back here are Dolly and his father. That represents the good times they used to have and how small their relationship is now. The rocks back here are rocks of Catechus, put in most of his paintings. Those are from his homeland. And the shadow over here represents the shadow of Mount Peony and a grand piano. When Dolly went to his uncle's during the summer, the family down the road would usually bring out instruments and put them on the beach. So when Dolly was walking down the beach, the shadow would always startle him. It is to represent anxiety. Any questions?
Hi, my name is Calvin. I just turned 9 despite my size, and I like science and math, which is why this painting is good painting for me. It's called Nature Morte Vivante, which means still alive, fast moving. Dolly painted this in 1956 and he was 52 years old. Dolly was interested in science, math, and religion at this time, and he called that nuclear mysticism. And here is Dolly's hand holding a rhinoceros horn, and it has a spiral inside, and Dolly likes spirals because DNA. It looks like DNA. And here, the railing, it is also a spiral, and it's the golden spiral, which Dolly thought of as God's fingerprints. And here, this cauliflower is also a spiral, but Dolly also painted it in here for the nuclear bomb that got dropped in World War II. And here are 2 pairs of fruit, 2 apples and 2 cherries. Still life, fast moving came from a theory, meaning, which is, you can't tell where an object is and how fast it is moving at the same time. And here, there's one that's moving and one that's not, and the moving one is casting a shadow and the still one isn't, which is not in real life. And Dolly also liked patterns, and here's a pattern on the tablecloth, and here's a pattern that you can find in his church when he was young, and here's another pattern that he painted there. And here, these little bits right here are bits of matter left over that Dolly just wanted to paint into the painting. In this table set, the fruit and wine were from 16th and 17th century painter called Van Schuten, and Dolly liked his work, so he painted that in there. And this bottle is a bottle from one of Picasso's paintings. And you can see this painting is very cluttered. So when Dolly painted this, lots of painters use this. It's called the golden rectangle. If you look very closely, you can see pencil lines under it, and Dolly painted this painting very lightly. It helped the painters organize their painting when they were painting this. And also, he painted a knife here, and that cuts the painting in half to organize it. And this bird up here is just a stuffed bird that he had in the studio that he wanted to paint into the painting. And the Morses, they donated most of these paintings to the museum. Their son had this above his bed, so every time he would wake up, he would see it. And that's all. Anyone have any questions?